the boater, he grabs a net and he says, that's the money fish. So he's referring to the megabass. He said, so eventually I got into tournament fishing. Once I got into tournament fishing, and actually once I started doing that, I had never really heard about tournament fishing too much. And I did not know that you could actually win money tournament fishing. I was pretty much thinking that it was just about winning trophies. So as you guys see, that was my main goal whenever I first started out. And I would always bring that up like, hey, so you can win trophies fishing and stuff like that. So I was like, man, that would be nice if I actually won a trophy for fishing and I could kind of show off a little bit like, hey, I actually caught these fish and I got this trophy for it. So once we started, once I got into the Rod Benders Bass Club, that's where my mind was still at. I was like, hey, I want to get out here. I want to win a trophy. So, and at the time they had a megabass pot. Megabass pot, guys. So that means a lot of dinero that is in that megabass pot. But as we set out on the lake that day, I was fishing as a co-angler. And the thing that I mentioned to the boater was like, man, I hope that I can catch a fish and win a trophy. And so what he looked back at me and said was, man, listen, if you catch that megabass, you'll be getting some, you'll win a lot of money with that. And I was like, well, will I get a trophy? Because my mind was still set on, I'm just trying to win a trophy. So he looks back at me and says, man, if you win that megabass pot, you will be able to buy your own trophy. And I was still thinking like, I would still rather win a trophy. I don't want to have to buy my own trophy. But anyway, needless to say, guys, we go out and I'm throwing a buzz jet, and I have a video showing that bait that I was using actually on Gunnersville. This was Lake Gunnersville. And I just recently, maybe about 2-3 weeks ago, did a video showing how I fished that buzz jet. All right, so let me just pause this real quick and just explain something real quick, guys. All right, there you go. So you guys can see that bait right there on the screen. So that is a buzz jet. But that is the bait that I was throwing. I threw that bait out there and I was kind of fishing it. It's a wake bait, but you can fish it like a popper. You can kind of make it dive like a crankbait. Great bait. It has a lot of different techniques that you can do with it. I would say like 3 or 4 different applications of ways that you can fish that. So I throw it out there. I start moving it. I let it stop for a second and the bait just disappears. And so remember, guys, I am probably 3 months into tournament fishing. This was probably my fourth or fifth tournament that I have ever fished. So I'm still a newbie. At this point, I have 2 rods on my boat. One of them is a spinning rod that I had from Walmart and a bait caster. It was a loose bait caster that I had bought not too long. Well, actually right when I started tournament fishing. So I'm throwing that out there with that bait caster. The bait just disappears. And I'm looking like, what just happened? Where did my bait go? So I start trying to reel it and I feel that tugging on the other side. So I start reeling it into the boat. And I'm like, man, I was like, it's not that big, because he was grabbing the net. And I was like, it's not that big. It's not really fighting back. So it just happened to be not being experienced with tournament fishing from a boat really that much. That fish was swimming towards me. So as I pulled that slack in, when that fish felt that hook and knew that it was hooked, it went crazy. It went berserk. So now I'm sitting here like, oh my goodness, I'm sitting here sweating. The thing is pulling drag. And next thing I look and that fish comes out of the water. Now, I know a lot of you guys have experienced that. That was my first time experiencing a fish coming out of water like that. The fish was 6+ pounds. I mean, it wasn't that 13 or that 10, but it was my PB at the time. So that it comes out of the water, jumps around. I mean, I can see the gills on each side of that fish's face, on that fish's face, as it's jumping and just kind of kicking back and forth and goes back into the water. Looks like something right off of TV or out of a magazine. Lands back in the water, makes a big splash. And guys, I'm shaking at this point. I'm reeling this thing, trying to get it in. And then the boater, he grabs a net and he says, that's the money fish. So he's referring to the megabass. He said, that's the money fish. So at that point, man, I'm so nervous. I'm reeling this thing the best that I can to get it in. And it dives back down again. And I'm like, oh my goodness, this thing is going to come off. And it's just pulling. And my pole is just kind of shaking, going down. I get the thing back up, guys. It jumps again. Oh my goodness. The thing jumps again. Now, You know, when these fish jump out of the water, that's pretty much when they throw the hook. That thing came out the second time. I could feel my heart beating this whole time. So yes, fishing is fun, but it can be, man, it can really do some things to you. It can make you nervous. It can, my adrenaline was pumping. So I found the fish kind of tires out a little bit. He brings it to the boat. Well, I bring it to the boat and he nets that fish. So he holds the net over to me and I reach in and grab that fish. And as I take the fish out, I look up and we're fishing near the bank, and kind of at the top of the hill, there are some houses, townhouses up there. And there's a bunch of people that just happen to be out there watching the whole thing, guys. So I hold the fish up in the air like I'm at the Bassmasters Classic or something like that. And everybody just starts clapping. And I'm like, man, this is great. Look at the intro into my bass fishing world. So I get that fish on the boat. It is the MEGABASS. Oh, man, it was the MEGABASS, guys. So now I have to take the hooks out. So I'm holding the fish, but my hands, guys, my hands were shaking so much that I could not grab the hook. Every time I tried to grab the hook, my hands would miss. So I had to sit there and hold that fish for a few minutes and thinking like, man, I got to get this hook out. And I looked at my boat and he's looking at me, and I was going to ask him to take the hook out because my hands were shaking so much. But I eventually got the hook out of there, put the fish in the live well. Man, the MEGABASS. So that is kind of where the name MoneyBass comes from, guys. So after all of that, guess what? I didn't get a trophy. There was no trophy associated with it, but the check was kind of big. So that check was kind of big. So that kind of put me on the map, guys. So with that, that was kind of my introduction into the tournament side of things. And so just that thrill of it, that motivation, that adrenaline rush that you get from the tournament side, that kind of became my new thing. And I really enjoyed it a lot. So I kind of progressed throughout tournaments to where now it's like, okay, I got my trophy. I want to win Angler of the Year. I want to do something, something on another level. So that's what I did. And I just kind of stuck with that, guys, and just kind of progressed through things. And just skipping to where I'm at now, guys, I feel like I've accomplished some good things. And I just want to share that information with you guys. Maybe that is what is bringing me excitement now. So why do I fish? It's just kind of changed throughout the years. And right now, the thing that I do is I like to fish so that I can bring that information back to you guys. And then we can get on here, trip out, have a little bit of fun about it, kind of talk trash a little bit. I mean, we have DP in here. I mean, he's always breaking off a fish. DP has broke off some 8-pounders, some 5-pounders, but he has also caught some 8-pounders, 5-pounders. He's out there doing his thing. So he is a jig man also. So DP, make sure you tune in on Tuesday because we will be talking about some jigs. And let's see if, maybe you'll learn a few things, or maybe you have some things that you'd like to add into the conversation. But yeah, so on Tuesday, guys, we will be getting in deep into some jig information. And like I said, for the money team, I'll have some special things going on for you guys also.